the divine souls. I'm giving you a series of talks on the significance of Radha Krishna devotion in Kaliyug. We've been covering the most basic topics that will lead us up to understanding why we have to do devotion and how do we do devotion. So we started by talking about the aim of life and understood that the aim of every soul's life is to attain God. There's a reason behind this. God is happiness. God is perfect happiness. And every soul is an eternal part of God. We use the word ansh. So since we're ansh of God who is happiness, so we naturally desire that happiness. Every soul, for this reason, has eternally been desiring only perfect happiness, and perfect happiness is synonymous with God. So every soul has always, is, and always will desire only God because we desire only happiness. So how do we attain that happiness? We learned from the Vedas and other Hindu scriptures that God cannot be known or experienced by any means because God is divine and our senses and mind are material. So how can you see a divine thing with material eyes? How can you know an unlimited thing with a limited mind? For this reason, God is absolutely beyond the reach of every soul. However, we also learned that God has been attained by many. So how did those souls attain God? They attained God by receiving His grace. We found out that those souls who received God's grace could know Him, could reach Him. How does a soul get God's grace? You surrender. You surrender, God graces. Through His grace, you get divine mind and divine senses. With your divine mind, you can know God, and with your divine senses, you can experience Him, see Him, hear Him, just like you experience this world with your five senses. Surrendering has to be done with the mind. How do you surrender your mind? Well, mind is a very subtle, fickle thing. It's not something that you can just pick up with your hand and pass it over to someone. You know, like someone says, surrender all your money to me. They're holding a gun on you, so you pass the money over. It's not that easy with God because the thing that we have to surrender to God is our mind. What does surrender of the mind mean? There's some other words that practically mean the same thing. Attachment, faith, love. They're all bound up together with surrender. It's kind of like different aspects of the same thing. Whatever you have faith in, you'll naturally surrender to. Whatever you're attached to, you're already surrendered to. Whatever you love, you're naturally surrendered to. We are already surrendered to this world, and we're trying to become surrendered to God. Why? Because we want perfect happiness, and God is perfect happiness. But how do we surrender our mind to God when it's already surrendered to this world? So for the last few speeches, I've been explaining, first of all, why our mind is already surrendered to the world, or you could say attached in the world, and through what process the mind can be attached to God. So one of the first things we understood is, what's the nature of happiness in this world? Although we need the world, meaning even someone who desires God cannot just deny the necessity of what his body requires from this world. Everybody needs something from the world. We all have a physical body, so we all have to live in this world. Nonetheless, we try to get happiness from this world. See, we can get calories and protein, medicine, we can get things our body needs from this world, but we're trying to get something else from this world as well. Happiness. But I already explained to you that happiness is God. So we looked at from a few different angles the happiness of this world. For instance, what is the definition of true happiness according to our Hindu scriptures? True happiness has to fulfill 3 conditions. It must be of an unlimited amount. It must last forever, and the more you enjoy it, it should go on increasing. So then we asked ourselves the question, through our own experience, can we actually say that such happiness exists in this world? So, nobody has ever found such happiness from worldly things. No one has found unlimited happiness, or happiness that lasts forever, or happiness that goes on multiplying the more you enjoy it. In fact, it's the opposite in this world. The more you keep enjoying something, the less happiness it gives you. Then we ask the question, then what is that happiness we get from this world? If it's not considered real by Vedic standards, Ved says if it's real, it should be forever. Then what is the happiness that we get from this world? Then I explained to you how the mind works, how it develops attachments, and because of those attachments, experiences a form of happiness from this world. The happiness itself is not in any object or in any person. Then why do we get happiness from objects and from the people of this world? It's very simple. Whatever we're attached to, when we get that thing, we feel an equal amount of happiness to the amount of attachment we have to it. Same with a person. I gave you several examples of how you get happiness from being with the person you're attached to. You don't get happiness from being with someone you're not attached to. For example, you're not attached to your neighbor's kids. You're attached to your kids. When you see your kids, your heart jumps. When you see your neighbor's kids, it doesn't matter how beautiful they are, how capable or intelligent they are. You may appreciate them or admire them, but you're not attached to them. So your kids give you happiness. When you see them, it gives you happiness. When you see someone else's kids, you don't feel the same happiness because you don't have the same attachment. So every person could be a source of happiness or unhappiness, depending upon how we view them. If you like the person and you've become attached to them and you get to be around them, now they're going to make you happy. Let's say you're separated from that person. Now the same person is making you unhappy because you can't be with them. So are they the source of happiness or unhappiness? When you get them, you're happy. When you lose them, you're unhappy. But if you dislike a person, see, there could be a person who's giving happiness to one other person, and that same person gives you unhappiness. Why? Because you have a negative attachment. You dislike or hate that person. So when you see them, you feel unhappy. When another person sees them, they feel happy. So is there happiness or unhappiness in the person? Neither. It totally depends on the attachment in your own mind. How was that attachment formed? Through our own thinking. We think of that person as a potential source of happiness, thus we become attached to them. Can be a person or a thing. The desire for happiness is constant. and in every person. Because of this desire for happiness, we try to enjoy things. We try to find something to make us feel happy forever. So, I explained to you that since this world is readily available to us, and it's made of the same material substance our mind is, they're both made of Maya, the material energy. So the mind sees this Mayic world, and it's attracted to it, and it hopes that it could find happiness in this world. And that act of hoping starts building attachment. And the more you think about a person or thing as a source of happiness, the more attached you become. The more times you repeatedly try to enjoy that thing, the more attached you become. And the more attached you become, the greater your desire becomes to enjoy that thing or be with that person. Then the more happiness you get, or unhappiness if you're denied that thing or you lose that person. So there's a whole link, you can say. It starts with our desire for happiness, which is initially our desire for God. The reason we desire happiness is that we're a part of God and He's happiness. You also have to keep in mind that God never separated us from Him. He's not mean. He's not looking for a reason to make souls suffer. We are separated from Him today because we have been since eternity. But we don't have to remain that way. If we surrender to Him, we can meet Him. So since we're desiring happiness, or you can say we're desiring God, and that is felt as the desire for happiness, but our mind can't interpret the actual thing that we want. It just has that feeling that something is missing, and it sees the world, so it starts desiring worldly things. And we get attached to those things. When we get them, we feel happy. When we lose them, we feel sad. But in this process of constantly thinking about the world as a source of happiness, we've become deeply attached in the world. Our mind is deeply attached. Yet, what are we getting from that attachment? What we're getting is what we have right now. We're never honest with ourselves in that way about what this world has to offer us. We don't live in happiness, we live in hope. We're always planning and looking ahead. Just this one more thing, if I just fix this thing in my life, or if I just accomplish this thing, then I will be happy. We're always thinking, I will be happy. Happiness is just around the corner. But are we actually living in happiness? No. We get fleeting enjoyments from this world. No doubt, we do. But there's always disappointment at the end because you can't enjoy something forever. And even while you're enjoying it, you feel like you want more. So even during the height of your enjoyment, you're dissatisfied on the inside. This is what the world is. Because it is neither the form of happiness nor the form of unhappiness, it is what it is. We experience happiness and unhappiness from it according to our attachment, which we ourselves create. But since we are the divine soul, no amount of self-created and experienced happiness from this material world could ever satisfy our divine soul. Thus, if we keep looking for happiness in this world, we'll keep multiplying our attachments, and we'll keep experiencing more disappointment and suffering, and we'll fail to find the real thing we want, which is perfect divine happiness, or Anand. If we want real happiness, we have to experience God. So we have to surrender our mind to God to get His grace so we can experience Him. In order to surrender the mind to God, the mind needs this kind of education. This has all been review from the past days, previous days. The mind has to understand what is the reason that we're feeling this inner lack. What is it we're really desiring, and where can we get it? The mind has to understand that. Only then it will start thinking of God. We'll get to the process of actually attaching your mind to God when we discuss bhakti in great detail during the last phase of this series of speeches. But for right now, you can understand that it involves the same type of thinking we use to become attached in this world. Why do we get attached in the world? We think of the world as a source of happiness, and then we keep thinking, and we keep growing our attachment in that way. So you think of Krishna, you think of God in that same way, and you'll start to become attached to Him. There's one thing that is kind of confusing to us as it regards people. We have this desire to have everybody like us. This is also something we have to understand about the nature of the world and the nature of people. We want everybody to like us and think that we are good. And we spend a lot of time trying to accomplish this. But it's also a form of worldly attachment that prevents us from surrendering to God. Let's understand the way a human mind works who is under Maya. Aja mekam lohit shukla krishnam vahvi praja srijamanam sarupa ajo yeko jushamano nushete jahatyenam bhukta bhoga majonya. The Vedas tell us that there are three gunas or qualities of Maya. Maya, remember, is the material power that this whole universe is made of, our body is made of, and our mind is also made of. When you get God realized, you get a divine mind. Until then, you have a material mind. Everything made of Maya has these three qualities. Sattva, Raj, Tam. Sattva is the pure or good quality. Raj is like a selfish quality, and Tam is a destructive, evil quality. All three of these qualities exist eternally as qualities of the material energy. Thus, anything made of Maya has these three qualities, or you can say is made of these three qualities. So our very mind is made of Sattva, Raj, Tam. It's made of these three qualities: good, selfish, and bad. So these three qualities are always vying for prominence within every human mind. Like three wrestlers in a ring, one on one on one. They're each battling to be on top and suppress the other two. So when Sattva Gun becomes prominent in the mind, Rajogun and Tamogun are suppressed. So what happens then? The sattvic qualities manifest in a person's thinking and behavior. Sattvic qualities means honesty, generosity, caring, patience, tending towards spiritual interest. These are all sattvic qualities. If the rajas quality gains prominence, then sattvagun and tamogun are suppressed, and then in the person's thinking and behavior, the rajas qualities become active. Rajas qualities make us more ambitious to enjoy worldly pleasures. And when the tamas quality becomes prominent, then sattvagun and rajogun are suppressed, and the tamas qualities are manifested. Tamas qualities are laziness, apathy, and also a tendency to even desire to do harm to yourself or others. This is the tamas quality of Maya. So all three of those qualities exist in every human mind. Different people tend to develop different qualities more. Through sattvic thinking and sattvic actions, you develop the sattvic quality. The same with rajas quality, same with tamas quality. Although in every person all three qualities are there, but one will tend to be more prominent because a person may have developed the sattvic quality more, so that you can say they're more sattvic in their behavior and thinking. Someone else is more rajas, someone else is more tamas. It doesn't mean they don't have the other qualities, they do, but they're not as prominent, not as active as that one quality. But even in that person, let's say, oh, this person is sattvic, yet every once in a while the rajas quality also asserts prominence and they have rajas behavior. And every once in a while the tamas quality asserts its strength and they exhibit tamas behavior. Same with a rajas person. He may be rajas most of the time. Sometimes he's sattvic, sometimes he's tamas. And a tamas person can also be rajas or sattvic sometimes. It means these three qualities are constantly changing in the mind. Let's say there's a husband and a wife and they decide, hey, let's go catch a movie tonight. Let's walk to the movie theater. It's a nice night. Maybe it's in the spring or summer. So they head out for the movie theater, and on the way they pass a mandir and they see, oh, there's a lecture going on in the mandir. Let's forget about the movie. Let's go and listen to that spiritual lecture. So it means that when they were leaving to go and watch the movie, they were both under the effect of the rajas guna. The rajas guna gives you the feeling like, oh, I want to enjoy something. I want to see something, hear something that I can enjoy from this world. But as they passed the mandir, because you're also affected by your environment. Even a sattvic person, if he surrounds himself with a rajas or tamas environment, that his mind tends to start thinking in that way. Or vice versa, even a tamas or rajas person can be influenced to start thinking in a sattvic way if he's put in that environment. So as they passed by the mandir, the sattvic guna got a little boost and they decided, okay, let's go inside. So they sat for some time. After about 15 minutes, one of them, say the wife, decided, no, I changed my mind. I'm going to go and see the movie anyway. And the husband said, no, this is really interesting. I'm not going anywhere. I want to listen more. So the husband stayed and the wife left. I'm going to the movie by myself. Then they met up at home again after. So you see the play of the gunas. They were both rajas, then they both became sattvic, but in different intensities. The husband was more sattvic, the wife was less sattvic, so she didn't have the same draw to the spiritual thing. And eventually she went back to the rajas thing. This shows that these gunas are constantly fluctuating in a human mind. And two people tend to be in agreement and tend to get along, you can say, for that time that both of their minds are under the influence of the same guna. However, we also have to take into account that when someone is under the effect of the sattvic guna or rajas guna or tamas guna, they will be to different intensities. So if someone is intensely rajas and someone is slightly less rajas and partly sattvic, it's like a mix, then that's not going to match up either. When this is the state of constant fluctuation of every human mind from sattvic to rajas to tamas and back, always in different intensities, always at different times, and we have this expectation that everybody is always going to agree with us and favor us all the time. It's totally unrealistic. Everybody has their own mind going through its own fluctuations, under the effect of its own desires and attachments. Every person has different desires and different attachments. Every person is going through different fluctuations of sattva, raj, tam at different times and different intensities. So how is it even possible for us to get along for 1 minute? That's the miracle. We should be surprised if someone agrees with us. We shouldn't be surprised if someone disagrees with us. Yet we walk around in this world surprised. Oh, this person didn't support me, didn't favor me. They're so selfish. Selfish. We're all selfish. That's human nature. Again, come back to this original science of the human mind. What do we want? We all want happiness. Every single person wants happiness, and until you attain God, you are driven by that desire for happiness. Is that not the definition of selfishness? Normally we use this term selfish, swarthi, in a derogatory way. Oh, you're so selfish. If someone says that to us, we're insulted. Why should we be insulted? It's a fact. We're all selfish until God realization. We're all driven by that desire for happiness, and everything we do is for that happiness. Sarvesham api bhutanam nripasvatmaiva ballabha itare patya vittadyas tadvallabhatayaivahi. Bhagavatam. Every person does all of their actions because of this one reason, the desire for happiness. So in fact, it is said that we don't get married for anyone else's happiness. We get married for our happiness. We don't make money for the sake of making money. We want to make money for the sake of our own happiness. We don't even decide to have children for any other reason than our own happiness. We believe that having children will make me happy. Everything we do is for this reason. One time, Yajnavalkya was explaining to his wife this very principle. He said, Nava are sarvasya kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. Bhavatyatmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. He says, to be more specific, Nava are pati kamaya pati priyo bhavatyatmanastu kamaya. He says, no husband, now don't be insulted, he's telling the true thing. He says, no husband loves his wife for the sake of her happiness. Why does he love his wife? For the sake of his happiness. Remember I gave you the example of the April Fool's joke the other day? How quickly love can turn to hate and then back, depending on the other person's behavior, and then how it changes our thinking. So let's say you heard something bad about someone close to you, and it seems like there's evidence that they've done something bad behind your back. They've insulted you, they've been disloyal to you. What starts happening? You start thinking negatively about that person, and you start to dislike them, or at least you like them less. And then you find out, oh no, it was all untrue. They didn't do anything. They've been totally loyal to me. Again, your love comes back to its normal level. See, that person didn't change. Our thinking changed based on our own self-interest. To what degree is this person fulfilling my self-interest? In other words, my happiness? To that degree, I get attached to them and I love them. So it's simple. The love in this world is the result of attachment, which is the result of the faith we have that this person is going to do things that will make us happy. They're going to do things that will fulfill our self-interest. So this is the very definition of a business relationship. I'll do things to make you happy, you do things to make me happy. If you start making me less happy, my love for you is going to decrease. If I start making you less happy, I know that your love for me is also going to decrease. It's natural. It's the way the world works. It's why sometimes we stop loving a person that we used to love, and we can start loving a new person who we start to think looks promising. Oh, maybe this person let me down, maybe I can get happiness from that person. So this is not an indictment of worldly people. What I mean to say is, this is normal. This is how we all are, but we normally or we rarely acknowledge it. True love, perfect love, is possible when someone has happiness, because then they have no selfish desire remaining and they can give. That's true love. God and those souls who have attained God, they can love selflessly like that. And those of us who have yet to attain that happiness, how can we love selflessly? The only thing we can think of is how to find, where to find our own happiness. This is why Tulsidas Ji says, Je hite kachu nij swarath lagi, ta par mamta karai sab koi. सुर नर मुनि सब किया हरीति, स्वार्थ लागी करहि सब प्रीति. Everyone loves based on self-interest. So you don't have to go home and have an argument about it with your spouse tonight. In fact, this should make it easier for you to get along with people. I'm giving you the tools not only to transfer your attachment from worldly things to God, but also to be able to live more harmoniously in this world. Why do we get so angry when someone doesn't treat us the way we want to be treated? Because they didn't meet our expectation. We expected that you are going to be loyal to me, you are going to make me happy, you are going to love me. We forgot that that person is also looking out for their self-interest. They also want to be happy, and they're going to do what they need to fulfill that. And you are going to do what you need to fulfill that. So how can you always get along? How can you always support each other? It's impossible. It's totally unrealistic. So we have these unrealistic expectations of our family members and our friends that they can never live up to. In other words, I want you to make me perfectly happy. That's what we really want. We want perfect happiness, and we look to get it from each other. But think about it. Am I in possession of perfect happiness? No. I'll assume that you aren't either, if you're not God realized, and yet I'm expecting to get perfect happiness from you when you're not in possession of it, and you're trying to get it from me when I'm not in possession of it. This is the expectation we have from each other, and then we get disappointed. Oh, you didn't make me perfectly happy. It's like asking a beggar for $1 million and then being angry with them when they can't produce it. We don't have that kind of currency lying around. We're looking for it. We don't have it. We're all beggars for that. So, to the extent we can remember this, remember that every person is dealing with their own worldly desires and attachments, their own fluctuation of sattva, raj, tam, and has their own aim of fulfilling their happiness. If we remember that, then we won't be disappointed by people in this world. We'll expect that kind of behavior. We'll expect erratic behavior, selfish behavior. We won't be surprised when someone lets us down. So you have to live in the world realistically. We're looking for divine things from material people. We're looking for divine things from material objects. And then we keep getting disappointed. So we set ourselves up for disappointment. This world is not the form of perfect happiness, but it's not the form of unhappiness either. We make ourselves suffer in this world because we keep unrealistic expectations. In other words, we try to find perfect happiness where it doesn't exist. So we should change our mind. Look for that happiness from God and then live in the world in a realistic way. Then you can be much more harmonious in the family, much more forgiving of people's faults, not expecting them to be perfect, yet still being, I would say, doing what needs to be done, fulfilling your duties, your responsibilities, standing up for yourself when you need to, but not expecting happiness from the world. That is the main point. That's a total shift in paradigm. It means in the way we look at the world. A total shift. Up until now, our firm belief has been that this world will give us happiness, and that is why we've been disappointed repeatedly. Now we have to change our thinking. According to the teachings of the scriptures and the saints, we have to start thinking that no, happiness is in God, but I can still live in this world, and in fact I must live in this world. I need to do something to support my physical existence. And if I have a family and I have certain responsibilities, I also have to fulfill those. But do it in a realistic and harmonious way as much as possible without expecting happiness from anyone or anything in this world. Just getting along. That's it. Try to get along the best possible without looking for happiness from anyone, because you're looking for that happiness from God, and you will get it to the extent that you're surrendered to Him. It's a process. The more you become surrendered, the more you become attached to Him, the more of that reflection of the divine bliss starts to be reflected into your heart. You start to experience God. So you start to experience real happiness. Then you have your own experience to back up this theory that I'm explaining to you. But to get there, you really have to do a lot of thinking and make this philosophy go deep into your mind so that your mind will change. Instead of having its hope in the world, it starts to look towards God. Keep in mind, this is a mental change, not a physical change. I'm not encouraging you to become a sannyasi, leave your family, leave your job. No. Stay where you are. Keep doing what you're doing. Just change your thinking and then see for yourself how that changes your experience of living in this world. Don't change a single thing physically. Just change your thinking and see what happens. So this is the knowledge we need in order to do that. The knowledge of the true nature of this world, as well as the true nature of God, that happiness is not in this world, happiness is in God. That sums it all up. Everything I've been saying for the last 3-4 days can be summed up with that one statement. Happiness is not in this world, it is in God. To the extent we believe that, we start becoming surrendered to God. Now there's one more tattva, one more thing that we have to consider and that we need the help of in this process of transferring our attachment from the world to God. That is that we require the help of a divine personality, a God-realized saint, a guru, in order to actually attain God. So we're going to talk about what is a saint. How do you find or recognize a saint? How does the saint help you? And after that, we're going to talk about the different paths. The path of karma, the path of jnana, and the path of bhakti. And how, by following these paths, you can attach your mind to God. First, we have to consider what is a saint and how we can get the benefit from a saint's association. Boliye Vrindavan Bihari Lal Ki Jai.